Welcome back to the Reaper blog. In this video, we're looking at what's new in Reaper 7.75. We've got mixer slots for effects and sends. We've got a new spectral repair function and a bunch more. Let's check it out. Effects. Add option to allow empty slots in TCP MCP effects lists. Allow moving effects to particular slots in Mixer TCP. Add actions to toggle selected track effects bypass for slots 1 to 10. Right, so let's add a few tracks here. If we have this option here, show effects inserts in TCP when size permits, and allow empty slots in TCP MCP effects lists. Both of these need to be enabled, and then we can start adding in effects. So I'll just grab in a few things kind of at random here. Let's grab a recomp, let's grab a re-EQ, and a redelay. You know what, let's grab a relimit here as well. And we've got a relimit. You know, this is what we're kind of used to seeing. This list of effects, they go in order, and it's the same in the effects chain window. But let's say we want a gap between relimit and the other plugins. We can just move this down now. And it will stay the same within the effects chain because that is the order of the processing, but we can keep that gap there. We can also copy that plugin to other tracks. And there we go. So I don't know what slot number that is exactly, but we've got a bunch of slots here. So let's move this one up a little bit. So slot number 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, roughly there for relimit. So if we want to turn that function off, we're just doing a right click at the bottom of the TCP and turn off allow empty slots in TCP MCP effects lists. And now they'll automatically be like shoved up to the top. And bringing that back on, we can have gaps in between. In the mixer, we've got the same situation. We want to have show effects inserts when size permits enabled. We want allow empty slots in effects list, but grouping needs to be disabled for the effects parameters and the grouping sends. Drag and drop to put these into a particular slot. We have 10 new actions for bypassing plugins within particular slots. The tracks need to be selected. So I think that's slot number 5. Yeah, and we can bypass all of those all at once. So let's say we've got re-EQ across all these tracks. Want them on slot number 1. Let's rearrange that. So we can select all these. We want re-EQ bypassed for all of these tracks. We could just do that. Or the relimit on slot number 5. Do that. And I think more features related to this will come in the future. This is kind of just the starting point of it. Setting here group sends before and after inserts. If that is enabled, you will lose the slot function and show effects parameters grouped with their inserts. That needs to be off. That's sort of the only limitation there. And I want to show you one more thing in the theme adjuster. So when under track control panel, scroll down here, we've got these different UI elements. If we have the parameters function in the same section as the effects inserts, we will lose that slots function as well. So just something to be aware of. If you want the slots in the track control panel area, you can't have the parameters function in the same section as your sends or your inserts. Sends. Allow moving sends hardware outputs in TCP MCP list. Allow empty slots. Tint send level indicators in TCP MCP by destination track color if set. So if we have sends visible in our TCP, show sends in TCP when size permits. Let's make a send by dragging the routing button to another track. So track 2 is sending to track 1. And I've got the sends section below the main track. It could also be on the right side. It could be on the left side. You can have these empty slots as long as you're not linking the parameter and the sends controls together. That will eliminate the empty slots. Also in the mixer view, allow reordering empty slots in TCP MCP send lists. And let's give that track a color. And you can see that this send from track 2 to track 1 is colored green because the destination is colored. Let's do a random color on each of these. Let's open the routing window. It sends to all tracks. And you can see here all the different track colors there as well. I showed that you can find those things in the empty area of the mixer or in the track control panel area. Also show that that's in the options menu. If we go to show inserts, show sends, allow empty slots, and allow reordering empty slots, those are in the options menu, which means that this is a per project setting. MIDI Explorer, add action to show column configuration menu, add sort configuration to menus. So we got sorting by different columns. We can reverse the order. And this is just kind of, instead of clicking on the column, we can, select it from this, reverse the order, things like that. And from the action list, making sure that we're in the Media Explorer context, we can now find that, just lost it, show column configuration menu. And that just brings up the menu at your mouse cursor, which may be very helpful. MIDI Editor. Auto scroll view when running note navigation actions. Expose key snap root type in options menu. So these actions for navigating by selecting the previous note, selecting next note. I believe these are on tab and shift tab by default. These will now scroll your view over to keep that selected note in view and go backwards for the same thing. And in the MIDI Editor options menu, we now have the snap to key signature options, snap to root or snap to type, depending on which scales you have loaded. So there you go. MIDI Learn, display last MIDI value when assigning to allow easy determination of CC relative mode. So in the action list, I'm going to select something like adjust last touched effects parameter. I'm going to click add. And when I move a MIDI controller, it will show the last value up in that shortcut area. So last value 51. I'm actually using an absolute controller, but if I had a controller that has an endless range, it would allow me to determine if I should use relative 1, 2, or 3 mode. Navigator. Adjust length for project maximum length if set. Otherwise include markers, regions, or obey equals start equals end markers. Do not display master track when pinned to top. Display envelope lanes and visual spacers. All right, so I got a project loaded here and I've got the master track pinned to the top of the arrange view. I'm going to go to view menu and then navigator. And this now obeys the maximum length of the project. If you've never used the navigator before, you can use mouse wheel to move up and down. You can drag this to kind of zoom in. You can really adjust your viewpoint within this small window. You can see your entire project kind of all at once, which is pretty cool. So you can adjust the track height, all the stuff you'd want to do. But what's new is that it obeys the length of the project. So you can see as I drag that equals end marker, the window adjusts automatically. If I remove that, remove the start and end markers, now it's going to follow the last item or region in the project. If I go into project settings, advance, and I limit the project length and hit OK, now I've got a project length marker there that can't be moved by hand, but I think this should be, I think I'm missing some zeros here. I probably messed this up in a previous video. So yeah, like the default's at 3 hours now, and so my navigator is showing a 3-hour timeline. But yeah, I think that's a really cool option. It makes sense that the Navigator always shows your entire project, whether that's you can be kind of dynamic if you're not using any of those things, or if I put a marker there, and my cursor's at the earliest point, that marker is going to be our right edge. And if it's a marker named equals END, we even put this before other sections of the project, we can really limit the view of the Navigator, if that's what we want. But yeah, it's cool that it's automatically obeying the end marker and other ways of defining the end of the project. That's awesome. And also, the Navigator shows track lanes. So if we have fixed item lanes turned off, that is hidden in the arrange view, or in the Navigator view. If we have like volume automation, that's going to show. If we have track spacers, let's do before and after. Let's put a few things in there. All that kind of shows the same. We've got these gray dividing lines between different tracks. Navigator is pretty useful for really big projects, so I would recommend checking that out if you haven't already. Sample edits. Add spectral repair actions to replace contents of time selection with content extrapolated from existing audio surrounding the time selection. Support bias, scale, balance, DC, fades when applying spectral repair. Add versions of all sample edit actions that apply to the first selected item within the time selection. Add preference to automatically zoom to time selection when running sample edit actions. So we've got a new spectral repair function for sample edits. And we talked about sample edits a lot in the previous video and the one before that. So I've got a sound here. Like this stuff has to work on very, very short clips. So I'll play this back. There's a little click, mostly in the right channel. We have a bunch of new actions for applying a spectral repair to sample values for the first item that's selected at the edit cursor. So where the edit cursor is, it will create a 10 millisecond spectral repair where the edit cursor is. So yeah, let's just see how that looks. And I hit that. Now 10 milliseconds is larger than the actual sound I'm trying to remove, which may be fine. But we have this new window here. We can bias the left and right, which means taking more samples from the left to fill that gap, or more from the right. So might want to take a little bit more from before rather than after. I would say, like, especially if there's maybe like an echo or something like that. We can scale the entire area up or down if we also need it to be quieter in that area. Balance seems to make it a little louder at the beginning versus the end, which may help with the transition. DC shifts the whole area up and down, DC offset. And we can also fade, which can, so fading 0%, it blends right at those time selection edges versus kind of adjusting the area around, which, you know, situation dependent, but that may make it blend in a little bit easier. So let's play that. And if I hit cancel on that, going back to how it was, there's a little click there. So you can get to that from the action list. You can also right click and then spectral edits. That's off screen. Right click, spectral edits, spectral repair sample values in time selection. And so that's going to do the first channel by default if you do it that way. Spectral repair. Yeah, so it's kind of like where your mouse was, if it's doing the right channel or the left channel. Let's try that. Lots of fade. There's lots of random sort of clicks in this, and there's lots of bigger ones that actually won't be good for spectral repair. This is like a coffee shop ambience. So I would love to get rid of that using a spectral repair, but you know, you really can't. You're better off just doing something like that. You know, just good old-fashioned copy paste. Yeah, spectral repairs, not something that fixes every little issue, but like I could get rid of this click with a spectral edit, but it's not going to do anything for a longer, like these glass clinks. Add a spectral edit there. Bias earlier. Fade it. Scale it down a little bit. Yeah, it fixes a couple samples, but not the overwhelmingly loud thing that comes right after it. We have a new action, automatically zoom to time selection when running sample edit actions. So let's enable that. Let's make a time selection for here. Let's apply 10 millisecond at the edit cursor. So that's kind of adjusted my zoom automatically. It's pretty good. And I'll also mention that, you know, in the last video I showed the sample edit window, and it's a little different now because we have the DC and the fade option. Where we basically just had the scale function before. So there's the spectral repair, which kind of automatically grabs samples from before and after and mashes them together and hopefully removes a little click. But we also have sample edit scaling, so scaling it up and down. It's going to be limited to that time selection range. Let's go to another section. Let's make a time selection here. Right click on any of the points. Go to all channels, spectral repair sample values in time selection. And so that brings up that action same as before. That's probably where you will use it. And we also have the scale samples value in time selection, and that's what I showed last week, not in the last video. But this window is a little different because we've got the balance control, which weighs things more before and after. We've got the fade, which adjusts kind of an invisible area around the time selection. And then we have this DC offset function. Now, I don't know if it's just the way that I've brought up this window, but it seems like you can no longer like change your time selection and then keep this window open. Like I showed last time. I'm not sure why that is. One last thing to mention, timecode, add action to detect LTC and items and moved to detected position. So I'm going to go to Insert menu, insert a timecode generator. I can double click to set some information about this. Let's say frame rate of 29.97 non-drop, and let's set the starting timecode at like 15 seconds. And hit OK. And so if I then glue this to create a wave file, right click, glue items. I can now detect that LTC, detect LTC and move to detected position. That's going to jump to 15 seconds. I did 15 minutes, sorry. Yeah, so it jumped to the 15-minute position, which is, yeah, that's pretty cool. This is obviously a hack to get a file that has timecode in it, but I don't have any in my library other than things that I made today. Do not stretch media. Let's snap that to the start. And there, I've snapped that to its timecode position, which was 15 seconds. That's what I meant to do. Yeah, the audio timecode that's in the timecode generator can be read, and its starting point can be snapped. Let's say I trim the start of this item. So now I don't know what the timecode is, and I'll move it to the side. I'll detect the timecode. It's going to put that back where it belongs. And if I drag this left edge out, you can go back to that exactly 15-minute position. So if you're using like a field recorder that has an audio track of timecode that you send to your cameras and things like that, you can now detect that and snap things. So pretty useful. And that's it for this update video. Thank you so much for watching. If you missed any previous update videos, there will be a playlist linked down below with all the videos going back to 5.0, all the updates. So much good stuff to learn in there. Leave your thoughts in the comments about these new changes. Do you like those mixer effects slots and send slots? Will you use that? What else do you want to see with that stuff? I think mouse modifiers is something that should be added, but there's no knowing when. But I think that's something that people will expect, being able to shift option click to bypass everything in the row, that sort of thing. Or deleting, managing plugins beyond just the bypass, I think will be useful. Or like inserting effects to a specific slot number might be useful. Thanks again for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow me on Facebook and Blue Sky. Support the Reaper blog through Patreon or YouTube memberships, and visit reaper.blog for more tutorials.